Deputy Patsy Gallagher. Through a second.
Yeah, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to raise the question with the Minister. It goes back to the 29th of May when this House rescinded the statutory instrument placed on the Dáil by the Minister. Since that, it is 253 days, and as far as I'm concerned, there has been no political engagement whatsoever by the Minister, despite the fact that on that evening he was presented with an alternative which I believe would have been acceptable by the European Union. No engagement with the sector over 253 days, no engagement with the spokesperson in this House, and only an interview with a national paper trying to apportion blame.
Minister,
as the Deputy is aware, on the 20th of March 2018 I signed into force the European Union Common Fisheries Policy Points System Regulation 2018 in Statutory Instrument number 89 of 2018. However, SI number 89 was annulled by Dáil Éireann on the 29th of May 2018. SI 89 would appear to be the first SI to be annulled in the history of the state. Given this complex situation and combined with the infringement proceedings taken against Ireland by the European Union Commission, I requested legal advice from the Attorney-General on the matter. This advice has now been received and I am at present considering with my legal advisers the next appropriate steps. The 2009 European Union Fisheries Control Regulation 124 of 2009 and European Union Commission Implementing Regulation 404 of 2011 introduced point systems for serious infringements of the rules of the Common Fisheries Policy committed by licence holder of a fishing vessel and also separately the master. These are intended to complement sanctions and promote compliance and were required to be in place on the 1st of January 2012. Both of these EU regulations went through the ordinary legislative procedures at European Union level, which would have included widespread consultation with interested parties, including the Member States, the advisory councils, the NGOs and the fishing industry. The matter has also been discussed at industry liaison meetings over the years. The European Union regulations are highly prescriptive in relation to licence holders, leaving little room for further negotiation. Ireland is facing EU infringement proceedings for non-implementation of the required EU point system. In addition, the EU Commission has formally notified that all or part of the EU interim payments related to the control and enforcement worth €37.2 million in European Union funding may have to be suspended indefinitely until Ireland complies with the requirements of the control regulation and implements the required European Union point system. I am fully committed to delivering on Ireland's legal obligations in this regard at the earliest possible date.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Gallagher.
Just point out, or ask you, Minister, when you're replying, when you got the advice from the Attorney-General. Can I say to you, Minister, there has been absolutely no consultation, despite what you're saying, and you must show respect for the members of this House whose support you need to ensure that we get a statutory instrument through. You made no response in your reply, despite the fact that in your interview with the national paper you're going to introduce primary legislation. Threats do not work. Threats from the European Union or threats from you. The fact of the matter is that you and your predecessor had to go to the Supreme Court, and we know what happens there. We don't have enough time to discuss that. But we want to ensure that the case is proven beyond reasonable doubt and the individual must have a right of appeal. That was not allowed for, despite what you may say. And Minister, I would ask you to consult with the members of this House, consult with the spokesperson. Let me make it very clear. There is no member of this House, and particularly my own party, who do not want to put into effect the 29 or the 2011 regulation. We want to do that, but we must be ensured that it is fair and equitable and that we do have a right of appeal. It cannot be bulldozed through this House and we say now, oh, there's a problem at 37 million. That's the very money that the European Union and the Commission want to put into an emergency fund. They want to suck that out of it. So, Minister, you have to protect the industry, you have to protect the fishermen, and let's know when you got the advice. And I would say to you, Minister, don't hide behind the Attorney-General.
Minister, 1 minute.
I won't hide behind anybody, Deputy, and it has to be said that in terms of the purpose of this SI is to deal with serious infringement. It is not an issue, as you know, Deputy, it's not an issue that should be of concern to the industry as a whole, because serious infringements, as you undoubtedly know, are not widespread in the industry. So what we're working with is the Attorney-General's advice, which was received in late 2018, and it's under consideration presently. You will also be aware that the choices, of course, are to activate the 2016 SI, which has been approved by this House, or a variation of the 2018 SI, and they are the matters that are under consideration presently.
Thank you, Minister. Final minute.
I would point out to the Minister that we've no difficulty with a penalty point system. Minister, there's common courtesy, and came in here first in 1981. Not once did your office even acknowledge that you got the what we described as the amended, which would be acceptable. I mean, by not acknowledging that as a total insult to me and to other members of this House, and to say this was the first time it was done, does that mean it's wrong that we didn't go along with the common SIs been before the House 21 days, and then we're new politics, and we're representing the interests of those, but you're prepared, Minister, to bring legislation that doesn't give a right of appeal to the individuals and doesn't go to prove it beyond reasonable doubt. So, Minister, you made no reference, and I've asked you the date you got the advice, and secondly, where stands the primary legislation which you were going to introduce?
Thank you very much, Deputy.
I repeat the point which I made, that this is for serious infringements, that I got the Attorney General's advice in late 2018, that it's under consideration presently. That we have consulted extensively, and the Deputy knows, though it may not suit his purpose in the chamber here, that there has been considerable engagement with you and with the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party, or with the Fianna Fáil Party leader on this matter.
Minister, and don't try to suggest to this House